Hey Crafty Babes, I am excited to share some digital file storage with you friends today. We are going to go through how I store printables, and then we are going to do a little bonus thing on how I store my photos. Right now we're just going to pretend that we're online. I'm buying some digital printables, and I have decided to grab some Illustrated Faith downloads from last week. And what happens with these specifically is they open directly in PDF and then they end up in your downloads folder. So we're going to do both situations where they automatically open in what you're going to print in, and then I'm going to show you also how I file them in different ways when we have to store them first. So here I've gone into my downloads. First thing I do is I'm going to copy them and put them where they belong. So I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to leave them in there for months. I'm going to copy them. I put them into printables. Within my printables folder, I have every single manufacturer artist that I've ever purchased from, and I just paste them in there. Now with Illustrated Faith stuff, they label theirs very specifically. I know that I can go find them. I also know that if I sort by date modified, I can find the most recent ones. Sometimes when I have a collection to work with, I will make a new folder for that collection. I'll show you that here in the next step. But I like to just keep them the way that they are because they've already got the collection name in the file name. Now, for example, within a Creative Bubble, everything from her comes in a zip file, so it automatically puts itself into its own folder when I unzip it. So I don't do anything with creating new folders for in a Creative Bubble stuff. But here we're just going to look at a possible way that you would go find some things to print. So within in a Creative Bubble, she gives you not only the individual PNGs, but she gives you the printable PDFs. So depending on if I want 3x4s, I will print the full PDFs. Sometimes I want to print my things smaller, and so I will use the PNGs and place them inside of a template that I've already pre-created. But as you can see, it's just the individual image. I use InDesign to make these templates, but you can use whatever other program that you're comfortable with. This is just the size that I choose based on what I do in my scrapbooking, and the way that it works is that I can just kind of place in photos, but here's what I'm going to do when I want to print printables in a smaller size. So I'm going to head back into that in a Creative Bubble folder and change my view so I can see the names of these things. And this is where I would use the individual PNGs for inserting, and this is just not to like show you that this is what you need to do, but this is just getting you used to how important it is to store your printables in ways that you can find them in that just make sense. So now I've got these smaller versions, and what I do is I print everything from Adobe, because that tends to give me the best print quality options versus just printing straight from the different programs that things are in. That provides a little bit too much variation in the printing. So what I do is I will save this to, if I'm printing everything from a collection, I'll just go ahead and save this final file right back into that same folder, so that if I ever wanted to print these things again, I know that I have a different option. And then I just export it to a PDF, and it will automatically open up in Adobe. Now I have Adobe Pro because I pay for the Creative Cloud. Some of these features may or may not be available on your version of Acrobat. So what I'm going to do here is combine files so that I can print like items on specific paper. So I basically put my prints into two categories: sticker paper, or, well, three categories, but I'm typically not printing photos as regularly as I'm printing printables. I want to decide what things I'm printing on cardstock and what I'm printing on clear sticker paper. So I will open all of the things that I want to print, and then I'll just delete the items that I don't want to print on that first run. Let's just say I'm deciding that I want to print things on cardstock first. I think that's what I decide. Or maybe I'm printing on, I think I'm getting rid of cardstock things. And now this does not close the file. This is just deleting it out of the files that you want to combine together. So these are all the things that I've decided to print on clear sticker paper, and then it makes one file out of them instead of all individual files. And this is super helpful when you have maybe several different collections to print together, not just one. Now this is kind of an odd example because I'm just printing one specific collection. But if I were to maybe have some Creative Bubble stuff, some Illustrated Faith stuff, different artists within Illustrated Faith, I might want to combine them all, get them all the clear sticker paper stuff printed all at once. And that's the point of what I'm showing you here. And now these are just some of my settings. I will always recommend saving your settings. So I have a specific cardstock printables setting, which is printed on the highest quality that I'm allowed with my printer. Also, really be specific about the paper type that get as close as you possibly can. And I accidentally closed out, but I'm going to go back in and show you that there's actually also a color setting on my printer, and within Adobe it's just the combination, and I actually bump up the red and then I also brighten the coloring, and I change it to graphics instead of portrait. So there's just different things you can do and ways that you can really make your prints pop. And I am always going to suggest going to my faves page on my website to check out the papers that I use, because you can actually print with the best printer, but if you print on crappy paper, you're gonna have crappy prints. So I will always highly suggest quality paper, and I list all of the paper that I use specifically on my faves page. And now I'm going to go back and select the items that I deleted before, and now these are all the things that I'm going to print on cardstock. Now, what I showed you in the previous print settings, I actually do print both on clear sticker paper and on cardstock using the same settings. So to recap, you need some supplies. You need your computer plus a cloud-based server or an external hard drive. I would always recommend both a cloud-based server and an external hard drive. You need to, number 2, set up your system either by artist or shop is easiest, but if you want to get more specific with your categories, that works too. So have a designated place where all printable files will live. I call mine printables. You add folders for the shops or artists you buy from or have product from, and that's where those items will live. Within these folders, you can organize however you'd like, but I like to just create a folder or use the collection name if it's already built in. And then you have a download process. When you buy digital goods, you download them right away. When I buy things from my phone and I know I won't be at my computer for a while, I will pin or star the email confirmation from my purchase so that I remember I have something to download. Download to your designated spot right away, and don't let the files sit in your downloads folder or on your desktop. And then the print process. I usually print every Saturday morning because this is when I'm ready to see what new goodies I get to play with for the weekend. Once they're filed, I unzip the files. I see what I have inside. Do I have individual images or print-ready PDFs? Do I want to print everything or just a few things? Going through the process of how you want to use these items can cut down on wasteful printing and being too overwhelmed with decisions later on. Now we're going to move into photos. So what we have is two different kinds of file folders here. I've got print folders for each month, and then I have weekly folders for all of my archived photos. And this just helps me to break up where things live for long term, and then the good prints for me to move into my templates and actually get printed. So I use Google Photos that on my phone that syncs to the Google Photos app. And as you can see in the top right corner, if you open the app, it'll take, and sync any new folders or any new photos and videos. But it is doing that in the background all of the time anyway, for the most part. So here, what I'm doing is I'm just gonna start a new album. Now, this is a new process for me. I usually do this in my camera roll, but it makes more sense for me now going forward to add the albums in Google Photos. That way I can just take the final ones that I want to print, and they're already in Google Photos. I can just take that whole folder and move it to the print folder. So here I can just go and select any of the photos that I want for that specific date range, and then that's where they live. And we're gonna make a week 2 just so that I can kind of give you a little preview of what that looks like. So you just add the name, and then it will allow you to go add whatever photos you want. You can either hit select. I think you have to hit the select photos. So I can go through and just scroll and add whatever I'd like. And you can do that later. You can add a bunch of empty albums if you want, but we're just going to start with week number 1, and I'll show you this as an example. And now this is on my phone. So this is adding, let's just say I needed to add another photo to this folder, but this is on my phone. So now when I go into my computer, which is where I normally save all of my photos, now I can go right to my albums and look what's there. Week number 1. So all of these photos are now all in one folder for me. These are all the photos that I know I want to print. And so all I have to do is select them and download them. And that downloads them directly into, and I'm just changing the name here just so that I have a little more clarity for myself. I'm gonna select all of these, download these directly to that print folder, and then I know these are the ones that need to get printed. I don't have to sort through or wade through 100 photos that I took for that week. And you just use the little 3-button action there and hit download, and it's going to automatically pop up, where do you want these to be stored? And so I'm just going to select my January print folder. It will put it into a zip folder, which is fine, because as soon as you unzip it, you can just copy and paste the photos into the main folder and get rid of the zip and get rid of the extra folder. And I'll show you that here in just a second. Now, I'm on a Mac, so as soon as I hit the download down here, it's going to automatically unzip it for me. If you're on a PC, you might have to actually do that manually. So I just popped into that folder. I'm going to just basically cut them out of there and paste them right into the main folder so that I know. And I've already, of course, saved some of these, so it's asking me, are you sure? And now this is everything so far that I want to have printed, and I can just get rid of these 2 folders because we don't need them anymore. And now I know these are all the things that are going to get printed. And back in here, I just wanted to quickly show you how you can search for photos within a date range in Google Photos. I actually just type in the date range, and it will only show me photos from that specific week so that I know exactly what photos I've already edited and what photos I've chosen for that week. And I like to add all of the months into my folders at once, but I don't like doing the weeks all at once. I do like to do a section of them, but they're boring and monotonous to make. So that's why you only see a few there so far. But now I know well, I would do the same process I did with the printables, and I would make my little templates, save them into a PDF and print them from there. I do the same thing with my photos that I do with my printables. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this gives you a little bit of insight into some better ways to store your digital files, whether it's photos or printables. But just make sure that you are downloading and saving your items that you purchase quickly. It is so imperative to make sure that they get printed or at least downloaded and saved right away so that they're not floating around in different places on your computer. Have a place for them to live and a place for you to be able to access them easily. I hope this helps. Thank you guys so much. Talk to you soon.